Did you know that according to Akara, up to 30% of Australian primary school children are affected by a reading difficulty? This presents a significant problem that not only affects the children who are struggling, but the wider community as a whole. So what is a reading difficulty? First, we must look at what makes a proficient reader. A proficient reader must have a capable knowledge of phonics, vocabulary, and comprehension. They must also demonstrate sound reading fluency, as well as phonological and phonemic awareness. A reading difficulty is present when a student struggles in one or more of these areas. The cause of reading difficulties can stem from a number of factors in a learner's background and/or the learning environment. It has been incorrectly assumed by some that the skill of reading is a natural development for children from pre-reading experiences. With this assumption, it is believed that students immersed in print-rich environments will easily acquire the needed skills to read. However, we know that this is not always the case. The term learning difficulties is tricky to define due to the broad ground it covers. Queensland Studies Authority states, learning difficulties refer to the barriers that limit access to, participation in, and the outcomes from the curriculum. However, this is just one of many ambiguous definitions open to interpretations by researchers. This has caused learning difficulties and disabilities to be discredited by some due to the unscientific nature of the field. A recent study in New Zealand wanted to show the effectiveness of explicit instruction in phonemic awareness and phonemically based decoding skills as an intervention strategy for children with reading difficulties. They randomly assigned 24 struggling readers aged 6 to 7 years old in an intervention group or a control group. The intervention group were explicitly taught lessons in phonemic awareness and alphabet coding skills over a period of 24 weeks. The results of the study showed the intervention group significantly outperformed the control group in all areas, with an average reading age of 9 to 14 months ahead of the control group. This study suggests that more explicit teaching is required to aid in reading difficulties as opposed to a whole language approach to reading instruction. Akara states schools are to give students with disabilities the same rights as other students, including the right to education and training on the same basis as students without disability. Wouldn't this suggest that a more explicit teaching approach will be more effective to ensure that all students are receiving the highest quality of learning in our schools? The Melbourne Declaration Act states that Australian governments, in collaboration with all school sectors, commit to promoting equity and excellence in Australian schooling. Often teachers struggle in identifying learning difficulties in their students. They may attribute the problem to a disability, the child's family background, or the child's attitude and behaviour. However, these are often symptoms of the difficulty, not the causes. The RTI model is a model that we can use to help diagnose and intervene with students who have a learning difficulty or disability. Tier 1 is a prevention approach, which is basically to implement high quality teaching to maximise success in our students. For the students who are falling behind, we can move on to Tier 2, early intervention. This involves small group tuition, allowing for students to fill their learning gaps. For students who are still struggling, Tier 3 provides intensive long-term support. This tier should only make up about 5% of students and is generally for those with severe learning difficulties or possibly a learning disability. Early diagnosis and intervention is crucial, as studies have shown that students who are still reading poorly by the end of first grade are unlikely to attain an average level of reading by the end of primary school. In fact, if intervention is delayed to just 9 years of age, it is likely that 75% of these children will continue to have reading difficulties for the rest of their life. Like any diagnosis, it is better to use a combination of tests when identifying a reading difficulty in a student. Some formal methods include running records, standardized reading tests, and reading attitude surveys. Some more informal methods include informal reading inventories, interviews with teachers and parents, and general observations. Informal methods are often more helpful in identifying reading difficulties, as information can be collected that can't be measured by standardized testing. So what can we do to help our students with reading difficulties in the classroom? We all know prevention is better than a cure, right? Therefore, wherever we can, we should be implementing evidence-based teaching strategies in our classrooms. Teaching phonics through direct and systematic instruction is strongly supported by research. Using programs such as Thras or Jolly Phonics can assist in this. To help build vocabulary, you can use flashcards, word lotto games, and literature with repetition of words you are focusing on. Ensure vocabulary is tailored to student readiness. Never underestimate the value of discussion when comprehending a text, and ensure these discussions are student-focused and enriched with higher-level questioning. It is important to note that while grouping students by level of ability can be an effective technique, care must be taken to ensure students with reading difficulties do not feel stigmatized. Poor reading abilities have been linked to poor academic performance, anxiety and depression, high unemployment, and increased risk of turning to crime. Therefore, intervening with students who display difficulties in reading will not only help create happier, less frustrated individuals, but will also contribute in the long term to creating productive citizens in a more functioning society.